naturally it would be it was very awkward for me, as I'm sure you can imagine, to tell my family and friends that I've grown up with that I'm a Muslim.
Telling someone I don't drink because I'm a Muslim isn't something that I'm a bit shy to say. It's like, this is a blessing. Like, I'm proud that I don't drink.
Praying with a couple of friends in the park, and it was very interesting because there was this lady shouting with her husband, and there was like something out of the movie, and the dog was barking, right? And she was, "Oh, they're praying. Call the police. They can't pray here." And my friends felt really insecure, and they were really in a rush to leave.
I've felt awkward when telling people I'm Muslim.
When did I feel awkward? I think there were instances where, because of the environment at university, where maybe there's like a big group setting, or when you're getting to know someone maybe at work or whoever, where seems to be a lot of bad stereotypes about Muslims and Islam in the media specifically, where you have to work with that baggage. Like you can't show yourself, because once you tell them you're Muslim, for example, certain stereotypes automatically pop into their head, and that really restricts what I'm trying to achieve. For example, like it could be trying to get ahead at work, or trying to do this well at university, or that it just knowing that stereotype exists in the mind, it really restricts what I want to achieve, and that's where I feel I have felt awkward at times. But it's not to say it's always a thing, but at moments I have had that sort of thought pop in.
I was a bit 50 with this one, because like I've never felt awkward to say that I'm a Muslim. I think another thing is like I look very clearly Muslim. I'd probably say for you as well, like nobody's going to look at you and think you're anything but a Muslim. But the certain situations, like I can't shake your hand because I'm a Muslim, is the ones where it gets maybe a little bit more awkward.
And there's a lot of assumptions with that as well.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you shaking my hand?
Yeah.
Especially a female.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. You don't like women, or...
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's mostly with my family, you know, coming from a non-Muslim family, and you know, obviously growing up in an environment that was very far from religion in general, let alone Islam, which was something that we grew up with, as Tanzim mentioned, on the TV, you know, creating conflict in faraway lands, and something which was seen as a peril in Australia. Naturally, it was very awkward for me, as I'm sure you can imagine, to tell my family and friends that I've grown up with that I'm a Muslim. They couldn't believe, you know, that I would go in that direction with my life. It was just something that, it was considered so shocking. So why do you guys not feel awkward?
Well, for me personally, I think it's somewhat of a blessing. You know, this religion is something special, right? And because I am from England as well, so a lot of my experiences with non-Muslims. But we have to remember as well, which is really important, as well as we do have our, you know, celestial brothers as well, but we also have our terrestrial brothers like on the ground. And there's a lot of things that we can learn from everybody. But you know, for me personally, I don't swear. Right, that's one thing I don't swear, because it's kind of a sign of you don't know how to articulate yourself properly. So my friends ask me, "Oh, Mohammed's like, why don't you swear?" I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, religion tells you to be kind and to perfect manners." So that's one reason, and it also brings a very joyous smile to my face as well, because it's a good thing to talk about, and it's an opportunity for both of you to learn and to grow, essentially.
I think that point's a massive one. Like, it's a blessing. Yeah. Like, telling someone I don't drink because I'm a Muslim isn't something that I'm a bit shy to say. It's like, this is a blessing. Like, I'm proud that I don't drink. You know, on the contrary, not to like be demeaning, but like, that's the action that you want to stay away from. That's the one that you should be ashamed of. Whereas being a Muslim, something like, I'm proud that I'm a Muslim.
But don't get me wrong, I mean, these questions come up all the time. Like when I was at work, a friend of mine asked me, "Oh, Mohammed, what did you do for New Year's?" I said, I just kind of stayed home and watched Blade 1 and 2, right? I just shit like home. And he goes, "Oh, you doing good drinking with your mates?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm Muslim." And I was like, "It's all right." But you know, there is a time where we get overwhelmed with all these questions and we kind of run out of that energy. So that's understandable too. But you do have to understand that it's a sort of ignorance that people may have. But then again, take that opportunity, grasp it, hold it, and actually tell them what it's about. Because obviously there's a lot of false narratives that we've all consumed and we all read and we all hear about, right? So it's a really good opportunity for each of us to really learn and benefit from one another.
I feel it's important to openly portray myself as a Muslim in public.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Like, you know, obviously as a Muslim woman, you're automatically publicly portraying yourself as a Muslim. Whether you should proactively go about branding your faith is, it's probably up to each individual. Everyone does that differently, but we obviously live in a non-Muslim country, so Australians generally say don't talk about religion or politics. So there's a way about identifying yourself, and people that brandish their faith. Some people don't like that, others do, but I think actions speak louder than words. I think you should embody the character of a Muslim without the label, and I think that'll go a mile further than branding your faith. But obviously Muslim women are in a completely different scenario, some Muslim men as well, but I just think whether it's necessary to publicly present yourself as a Muslim, well, what does that mean? Are you saying adopt the characteristics? Well, of course. But are you saying to tell everyone that you're Muslim everywhere you go and shove that down other people's throats? I don't know if that's the right way.
Sorry. But you said the thing about like how we have this culture of don't speak about politics, don't speak about religion. Like, I don't know if I like that culture, because we've moved to the extreme now where it's like you can't even talk about it. And then you end up with, horrible political opinions that you can't even criticize because don't speak about politics in public, don't speak about religion in public. Whereas what we should be doing is having sensible, respectable discussions about these things.
But I mean, I take your point, and it's true in circles. Yeah, of course, the discussion should be had in situations. Like, for example, there was a recent video of a Christian, I think it's just a Christian evangelical, who was on the bus, on the train, yelling at people, telling them, that's why I didn't understand the question. I'm saying in that context, obviously, Australians don't appreciate that. Just generally, people don't going about their business and being, shoved religion down their throat. But in certain circles, it is appropriate.
The way I interpret it is like flip it the opposite way. Should you conceal the fact that you're a Muslim, or should you try to like just blend in and not?
But this is about being publicly. But what is the Muslim label? Like, if you're wearing a headscarf, you're publicly Muslim. Yeah. But if you're not,
how about name?
So what would you say?
Changing your name so that it doesn't appear as
Well, I
Muslim.
didn't change my name.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Different.
So the reason I said yes was because of what you first mentioned. I remember one scholar in the United States, they mentioned that men should wear the sunnah as well, in solidarity with women, because women are on the front lines. They can't in any way sort of like hide their Muslimness, like you wear the hijab. Whereas men, like everyone has a beard nowadays, it's fashionable.
Speak for yourself.
So, yeah, sorry. But yeah, no, it's like no one's going to question you if you go into a workplace with a beard. So yeah, one scholar in the United States was saying that you should wear the sunnah as a man and to like in solidarity. I didn't change my name personally because I identify, obviously you don't have to change your name when you convert. It's a misconception I think some people have. Yeah, I personally feel that it's something admirable to identify outwardly as a Muslim. Whether that means like shoving it down people's throats and like sort of being aggressive in your dawah in an almost reactionary sense, that's a different thing. But I think that's different from having a personal kind of display of that.
I've been embarrassed to pray in public.
I think probably most of us have had an experience of like, there's nowhere to pray, and then you're just praying and you're just waiting for like people to walk past and a quiet corner so you're not in everyone's way, which is just, I don't know if it's something that we should have. Like theoretically, probably we should be more proud, like we were sort of saying earlier, to express your deen, but it's just, I guess.
You want to be, but it's not so easy sometimes. You feel kind of self-conscious. There's the famous foot in the sink situation is parodied.
Do you have a shower at home, man?
Like with me, I feel that I would pray in public, but if it's like, had to be in situations where I was essentially, there was a lot of people, it's like busy street or whatever. I remember I had to like literally pray on a footpath, like with all these people going, back and forth, because like, prayer time's running out, that sort of situation. So you're just always thinking like, what if someone that doesn't like Islam just sort of comes in and tackles you or hits you, and you won't see it coming because you're trying to have that khushu in your salah, right? And one situation that really stuck out for me personally was once I was praying on the plane. So I was like standing up, I had my little space, but then there was like seats, so there was people sitting behind me, but I'm praying in that direction. And so as I'm praying, I could hear like comments, like it was very clear. It was like two guys, they were commenting about, oh, is he praying? Oh, is he Muslim? Oh yeah, like, is he a religious folk? Oh, okay, yeah, why do they still believe in this? Like, You know what I mean? Like those kind of comments as you're praying. So it's like, I don't know, it just really sat with me and makes me feel uncomfortable. So alhamdulillah, like a lot of, as you mentioned, there's parks and stuff, be praying, there's not many people around, but then it's just that thought when you're in a busy place or you have to pray somewhere where, something might happen or something. And I've always felt, awkward at times doing that, you know what I mean?
As well, and I've experienced something similar to that as well, only recently, praying with a couple of friends in the park. And it was very interesting because there was this lady shouting with her husband, and it was like something out of a movie, and the dog was barking, right? And she was out there praying, call the police, they can't pray here. And my friends felt really insecure, and they were really in a rush to leave. But I thought, you know what, like I'm a bit of a, I don't want to be, I'm not saying it's pessimistic, but I was like, let's take that as an opportunity, why do we pray? And stuff like that. Although you will meet a lot of possible violence as well, right? It can be difficult.
I feel completely unrepresented in the media and politics.
No. Okay. What? Can we get the no's? Why?
I don't know if maybe I'm just interpreting the question differently, mate. Like, I feel like there isn't much representation, but I don't have an issue with it. I don't think that, I'm not looking for representation in media and in politics. So I don't feel like let's go out and seek representation. It's just, it is what it is.
Seeking representation is interesting to me, actually, on that topic, because I think there are some voices that are out there. But like I said to Tanzim before, a lot of the backlash that we get is from our own community. So we do have voices out there, and it's not like they're gonna, I honestly don't think they're changing themselves or putting a show on. It's just, whatever they're talking about, maybe in the Daily Show, or maybe they're just a local member for parliament. That's their role. But they get a lot of backlash from us, essentially. But we are being represented, but everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has their own haq that they hold on to, right? And I think we judge those people on such a pedestal, if you would like to call it, too critically.
Like on that point, like in the UK, there's a lot of Muslim members in parliament. But when you see certain issues that they're voting on, and it's like the stances that they're taking us.
That's true.
You might as well not even be Muslim in that sense, that you're not representing Muslim voices, you're not representing Muslim opinions. It's just a Muslim name, a Muslim face. And to me, that doesn't offer anything. You have Muslim celebrities, comedians, singers, actors, and I'm like, we'd probably be better off if these people were not representing us.
I mean, there's a whole question on what is the value of representation, and it has to come with, Islamic doctrines. Like, what is being a Muslim representative? Like, you have to be Muslim, but what does that entail? So it's not just a label. But I think for a population of 2.2% Australian Muslims, if there is small representation, is that a bad thing? For a population of 2.2%, I think it's pretty decent. We have members of parliament, we have people in the media.
I think one thing, this is a really, really deep topic, and one issue that I sometimes feel we have is because of the narrative of Muslims in the media, for example, we're sort of in the back foot to prove ourselves to be we're good people and this and that, which is fine. If that's the natural reaction, that's what you're gonna have if you're being misrepresented, right? But at the same time, when we go down that route, what we end up doing is that we paint ourselves too much in the sense that we're, very good people, we do this and that and give charity, which is great. But at the end of the day, we don't actually bring to surface our actual humanity, in the sense that there are people that struggle to be a Muslim, for example, or do drugs or alcohol and still call themselves Muslim, right? And that sort of stories don't surface, and our sort of genuine portrayal of being a Muslim becomes lost, where we're trying to prove our sort of humanity in the first place. And I think that's also a bigger issue when it comes to representation, where we go too far on one spectrum and sort of explain, no, we're really, really good, but in fact, our community isn't good, it's imperfect, right?
I feel a boost of confidence when seeing a Muslim excel in public.
That's interesting. You have to think about that one. Interesting. I mean, you should be happy for your brothers or your sisters, right? Yeah. Regardless.
I don't know how you couldn't.
Yeah.
No, the other flip side would be that because he's in the spotlight, they're gonna judge being a Muslim on that guy. And it's when he does fall short in one aspect, suddenly it's the Muslim community falls back. And that's where the pressure lies as a community, right? So I feel like that expectation that's put on him sometimes is might be problematic, if that makes sense. Because,
Yeah, seeing a Muslim excel, I wouldn't have any hesitation, but excel in public is the bit where it just gets a bit on what basis, on whose standards are you excelling? When you say in public, what limelight is being put on you, what pressures are being put on you that make things a lot harder. I think if the question were just, do you get happy when you see a Muslim excel, I wouldn't have any hesitation, but the excel in public is the bit that just gets me a bit hesitant, because when you say in public, on whose standards, with what pressure, are you being made to excel? You know what I mean? There's this extra standard, extra pressure that's put on you, and you have, you know, so much other things that come into play. But in terms of Muslim excelling, you know, Prophet ﷺ said that if any of you does anything, he should perfect it. So we should always be happy when Muslims do things well and they carry our community forward. I just get a bit hesitant when somebody has that extra limelight and that extra pressure put on them.
Like Tanzim, you said, like, you know, like an individual excelling would then carry the burden of the community. I get that. But we shouldn't think that an individual Muslim excelling is necessarily representative of the whole Muslim community. They are an individual in their own right, and they're excelling in their own talents, and their flaws are their own. We shouldn't carry that baggage. But
yeah, wouldn't you find that I totally agree with you, but the rest of the society or like non-Muslims, they'll put that expectation onto that Muslim, like, hey, look at that Muslim.
No, but look at what people like Muhammad Ali have done for the Muslims.
Yeah.
Like him, that was literally because of his public platform. He had such a positive impact on Islam.
and who criticizes him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It has almost universal acclaim.
Yeah.
People like Malcolm X, it's definitely like, I'm definitely happy if our brothers and sisters excelling, but it's just like that expectation, because we can also come up with examples where it didn't pan out the way we hoped, you know what I mean?
I guess the caveat is that I want Muslims to excel and stay steadfast in their deen. But when they excel and end up in public, and then you end up compromising and having sacrifice, and you lose aspects of your deen, I don't think it's ever worth it.
If you enjoyed this video along with all the other content that One Path Network produces, please support us so we can create more beneficial content for the world. Go to onepath.network.com and you can support us from as little as $1 a day. Jazakumullah khair for your support.